Must go live. We are live. Let me just adjust a little bit. Coming to you from Vermont, Salt and Sand Studios. I am Karen, and I will be your instructor today, kind of like every Saturday. Anyway, today is a day for focusing on just the generally understood meaning of yoga, which is to yoke together. And I think of it as from the smallest to the macro kind of space, if you will. So we'll practice the linking together and the changing of certain things. So mind, body, spirit, breath, and movement. And I'll offer, doesn't mean you have to do it. I will offer that you change something in particular when you're in a posture and just see what it does. Just getting used to how things can change because nothing is permanent, right? And that we kind of own our own suffering, if you will, because we can actually change it by changing our outlook. If we're, the energy that is bringing positiveness to any instance, we are relieving our own suffering. There was a study done, I can't remember where I read it, that said they got a group of depressed people and split them into two. And they had one group give some money in particular, to a homeless person on the street or someone seeking money, whatever it might be. And even the people who could only afford to give a nickel after the end of the study felt a lot better about themselves and were less likely to be depressed than the people who are depressed. So I think that's really interesting, the giving part. So by that story, I'm talking about the larger kind of macro view of yoga, the yoking together of beings, because we're all seeking the same thing, right? Which is happiness. So right now, I'm sure you're probably thinking, oh, get me some happiness, Karen. Stop talking. So we'll move into it. I got to remove my socks. Today, we're actually going to start on our backs so we can get the hang of being in a posture or moving into a posture and allowing it to change as we make our way there. So I'm going to go sideways for you on this part. We are going to get onto our backs. You don't have to go sideways. And raise our arms over our heads. If that doesn't work for your back or your shoulders, maybe you take a cactus shape. And if that doesn't work for your back or your shoulders, maybe you just plop the arms out in a T. Deep, 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 deep breath in. And a full breath out. Now I invite you to lift your tailbone a little, maybe off the mat, maybe not quite, just press it toward the sky, stretch out your low back, and then starting with your mid back or just between your shoulder blades, sort of unzip your spine so you bring your lower back closer to the floor. So I just invited you to change the body. What did that do to the breath? Did it do anything to your mind? Did it open up another part of your body? I, for somehow now feel more open under my arms. Soles of both feet on the earth, feel all three corners of each foot. So the big toe mound, the pinky toe, and the center heel. That will allow, generally speaking, the knees to point toward the sky and a little bit of activeness inside your thighs. Now let's change the breath. Let's breathe in through the mouth and out through the nose and feel what that feels like. In through the mouth, out through the nose. Boy, that's dry. In through the mouth and out through the nose. Now we'll breathe only through the nose and see what happens. See where your focus goes. See if something changes in where you feel something soft or open, or where you feel something hard and tough and less elastic. Breathe in only through the nose and out only through the nose. Even length of breath in and out. Well, now what if you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth and lengthen the exhale? I don't know if you felt it, but I felt my body relax into the posture. I didn't feel like I needed any forced movement to make that happen. Pick up that right knee, give it a good squeeze. Now lift your head off the mat, tuck your chin, stretch your neck, and bring your head back down. Did that change anything? I felt it open my hip actually a little bit more, stretch my hip a little bit more. We're going to squeeze the toes together and inward like a toe fist. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Exhale, force them open. Now we're going to try it the other way. Breathe in. Breathe out, squeeze your toes. Breathe in, spread your toes. Doesn't feel as forceful. Feels kind of uneven, like you don't have equilibrium. Ankle circles. Doesn't matter which direction. And the other direction. And this time I invite you to think about an intention, not necessarily focused on finding the circles with the knees, but consider an intention, find, create, establish an intention. And as you're taking circles with your knees to open up the hips, you're going to repeat that intention to yourself for 3 more times in this direction. And 5 in the other. Did you notice anything? Anything change in the way the body felt? Or how the breath was working? I actually lost count because I was thinking of my intention. We're going to stretch the leg up to the sky. Alternate between pointing the toes and pointing the heel to the sky. Bend that knee out to the right and hook the ankle above the left knee. You're going to activate both feet and scooch that left thigh and knee in toward your chest. You might thread your arms to gather the back of the thigh or the shin in. Now what happens if you imagine the shoulder blades getting closer to the earth? Maybe that creates more energy in the right hip crease. Maybe it brings your spine closer to the ground. Maybe it allows your brain to relax or your breath to slow down. I'm going to place the left foot down and take a half happy baby with the right. Now see how you can press all 3 corners of the left foot down to the earth to keep the knee straight toward the sky. So we've changed our breath, we've changed our body, we've changed our focus. So now I want you to move around. So we're going to use movement to open up and find the posture. So don't think about it. Just take some sort of moving shift of your foot or your ankle or your knee or your thigh or your other leg and see what happens. See how that changes things for you. If it changes in a way that doesn't feel good, you can stop and try something else. Don't think too deeply about it. I'm going to change the grip of my hand, and I find I can get a little deeper. All right, we're going to take that right ankle, recross it over the left, bring our hands to the ground, shift the hips to the left. I know that's a lot of instruction. And drop your knees to the right. Arms plop out in a T and gaze moves over the left shoulder. Now, I invite you to assume that this is not the end of the posture. That there are movements that might naturally take place or changes that you purposely make based on your sensations to get the most out of the posture physically, mentally, spiritually. And slowly we heel toe the left foot back to the ground, shift the hips so the spine is long, and we take all of those shenanigans on the other side. What's interesting is I had forgotten what we had done before. I don't even know how long I've been here. So I've been really, really present. So I believe what we did was gather the knee in, lift the head, lengthen the neck, draw the shoulder blades and the head down. Press the low back to the ground and check that your right foot is fully on the ground. So the right knee is facing the sky. We squeeze the toes in and let them go. Now we're going to do the opposite breath. Squeeze the toes in. Let them go. Yeah, it doesn't feel like an opening. And then try it again. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. This time breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. We release ankle circles. And here you're welcome to focus on the movement, the experience, the breath, or the feeling of the ankle or some other part that's involved. Take that rotation to the other side. We're going to stretch that leg nice and high. Alternate between the toes pointing and the heel reaching. Hug the knee back into the chest. Give it a good squeeze. And then find our hip circles. It's like you're drawing on the sky. And maybe your focus here is on just exploring the experience. Change one thing. Maybe that's physical. Maybe it's in the breath. Go to the opposite direction. Maybe it's in the mind. Maybe it's in another part of the body. And a happy baby. And if you notice, like I just did, it was harder for me to get into happy baby on this side than the other side. There's no right or wrong or black or white or good or bad or positive or negative. It just is. Something either has opened up in my right or gotten tighter in my left. It could be the way I slept. It could be tension. It could be, I don't know, yoga last night. So allow yourself to settle into this. Move around a little bit to get into the posture, but you want to keep the low back connected to the earth. I'm going to try shifting my hand hold again. Cross your ankle over your right knee. Supine figure 4. Both feet are active. Lower the shoulder blades to the ground, lengthen the neck. That just actually opened up my left ankle. Now that was an interesting impact. The sole of the right foot comes down to the mat, arms flop out in a T. We scooch the hips over to the right and drop them to the left. Gaze over the right. There are a few people who have a hard time appreciating twists. So maybe here you visualize the energy moving from just inside the left shoulder blade, circling down and around to the front of the right hip. We'll heel toe the right foot back to the mat, straighten out the spine, hug the knees in, and find a full happy baby, which will conclude this section of the practice. Observe where you might be feeling a little more elastic, a little more stable, a little stronger, maybe a little tired, and change something, either physically, as in altering the posture, or you can find movement. You could change the breath, its cadence, or maybe the way you're breathing. You might change whatever's in your mind. Maybe you come back to your intention. Now, what I love to call flying Baddha Konasana, I have no idea if that's really what it is. Flying bound ankle pose. So we're bringing the soles of the feet together, the heels toward the shin bones, and using the elbows to let the knees move out and forward. And go ahead and lengthen the legs to the sky. Bring the hands underneath your low back. And on this one, take your time, allowing the position to find you. I like to think about that as you're not forcing yourself into a specific shape, but rather the shape evolves as the body finds it. And either with the legs long, the legs into your knees, or possibly coming onto your side first. We're going to find our way up to a seat. Rocking and rolling. Beautiful. I shall now face you. And we're going to come into a child's pose. Knees wide, big toes touch, sitting bones toward heels. Find your chest, chin, or nose on the ground, and if the body is prevented from doing that, place something underneath your belly and your forehead. If your arms get grumpy, bend the elbows outward and let the index fingers touch. Otherwise, everyone
taking practice in this is going to imagine the breath moving up and down the spine to start with, taking its time, letting the hips settle downward toward the heels. Now shift the imagination and think about the breath moving across the sacrum left to right, then right to left as you breathe.
You're going to make your way into tabletop while I remove my top layer. Tabletop, a staple of the yoga practice, but maybe we find some things to focus on to see what happens if we change them. What happens if your fingers are together, your knees are together, and your feet are together? Do you still feel stable? Do you feel stable enough to float the right leg off the mat? Interesting. I felt pretty stable. I don't know about you. What if we now widen the fingers, widen the knees a little bit, bring the feet as wide as the knees, and press the right top of the right foot into the mat, and then extend the left foot? I feel sturdier. I feel actually a little more elastic as well. All right, we're going to bring the knee back down. We're going to take the right leg out. We're going to bend the knee like we're stepping on the sky, and then keeping your belly strong and some real estate between your shoulders, you're going to pump that leg up and down. If you would like a deeper quad stretch and it's available to you, you're welcome to reach around with the left arm, take a hold of your foot, ankle, and pant leg, and reach that leg back and the heart forward. Everyone, left arm in front, right leg behind you. Scoop up that belly, find stability. Knee and elbow draw together really slowly, press the ground away. What happens if you take some of the weight out of your right arm? Where do you put it? How about the belly? Inhale, extend. Left hand down. We're going to sweep the right leg out to the side. I think we might have done this last time. Walk the hands back and kneel up. Now, we're going to find this posture rather than allowing the posture to find us. Typically, when you move into this posture, your legs are not wide enough. So scoot that right leg out, press to the outer edge of the foot, but still keep the big toe mound pressing in. Right hand on your thigh, left arm nice and high. See if you can get taller. Draw the belly in and the tailbone forward. And now exhale, tilt. So what do you find the body wants to naturally do on the inhale? Lift and open. And what about the tilt? What about the breath out? I just gave it away. All right, inhale. And tilt. Beautiful. We take a look down at the right foot. The left arm sweeps toward the right, across the body, lands outside the left knee. Now this side's a little harder because I have to stick my booty out to be here. So now I'm going to go to my fingertips on the left hand, press the pelvis forward before I lift my arm, and then lift the right arm. Now you can play around with having the right arm over the ear, so you're going straight from the right foot to the right middle finger, or you can bring the arm up and look up, whichever works better for you, to find an opening in the rib cage, especially the right side, but also the left. Maybe you play with it. Maybe you take a half bind. Maybe you shift onto that left hand and float the right leg. We're going to look down at that left hand, sweep the right hand toward it, bring the hands back to the mat, and the right leg sweeps above the left calf. So almost as if you could look at your foot if you peek over the left shoulder. My favorite glute opener, as you know, glide the front of the right hip toward the left heel. Maybe come to your forearms. Maybe you play with this. Maybe you do a little sort of cat-cow movement. Maybe you spend more physical energy feeling like you're drawing the mat back with your finger pads, the heel of the hand, and the forearms. Maybe you find and pay attention to how the breath works so that the glutes open up even more. It's like the three bears, minimus, medius, maximus. Or maybe they're transformers, that's what they are. You could tuck the right toes under, send that foot back, and see what changes. What happens if you slow down the breath? What happens if you take the itty bitty shitty committee off your shoulders and look at them and say, hey, this is working for me. Whatever happens, I am okay with. We come back to the three-legged tabletop, this time drawing the right knee above the right elbow. Curl your spine. Inhale, extend, and drop your knee to the mat without thinking. Allow the body to move. Empower it. Give it permission. It doesn't have to do anything specific. Just let it find what feels good. Maybe you get up and dance for a minute. Dance, dance, dance. Returning together to our tabletop. We float the right leg back. We draw the knee to the nose. Stretch back up. Bend that knee like you're stepping on the sky and see if you can square up your hips. Maybe just a pumping up and down of the leg to open up the quad, or maybe you have the stretch to reach back and take a hold of the foot, ankle, or pant leg. Bringing the collarbones forward again. Arm and hand forward, finding balance. Whoa. Hand down. Sweep that right leg, left leg out to the left and plant the foot down. Get that all squared up and then walk backward. If you feel a little bit unstable, you can always kickstand the back foot out by a couple inches. Now check your stance. I have this sort of blah, whatever, not focus, I'm talking. So I'm going to add a little extension and I'm going to be really, really tall from the pelvis all the way to the crown of the head. Left hand on your thigh, right arm floats up. Take your time, find a little dance here. And shift for your tilt over your left leg. Does it feel more open, less open? Maybe you find a play between the right arm being straight up, which feels interesting on the right hip, or the right arm being over the ear, which seems to open up my rib cage a little bit more, making more space for air. Maybe you take a half bind. We take a look down at the left foot, sweep the right hand toward the left. Draw that right hand outside of the right knee, and then we pause. We then shift the pelvis forward, bringing the shoulders and the pelvis into the same plane. We're pressing on all the corners of the left foot and the shoelace side of the right. And now we slowly float the left arm up, or maybe over the ear. You could play with that. Finding what works for you, maybe coming back to your intention, maybe altering your attitude with a word, perhaps changing your breath. And if you like, a little shift of the right hand out to float that left leg. As both hands come to the mat, that left leg sweeps back. We draw the knee above the elbow. We lengthen back out and then sweep the leg over the right calf as far as you can. Maybe even take a peek backward and then scoot the front of the left hip toward the right heel so the leg comes out and backward. Maybe this is where you bring some encouragement into play with the words in your head or with the breath, or by tucking the left toes under to float the left knee off the mat and reach the heel behind, farther behind. Coming forward into the three-legged tabletop, the knee comes to the nose. Or did I already do the left elbow? I can't remember. And then the leg stretches out, knee to the mat. Puppy dogs, they don't think about what their body needs. They just make it happen. Sometimes they don't make it happen. The visceral reaction of the tail wag or the growl. After we start to make our way to teenage years, we become, whether we know it or not, consciously or unconsciously concerned about what others think. We might not react the way we would when we were a child on the outside. But what's to say that's not trapped on the inside? Walk your hands forward 2 inches. Tuck your toes under, float the hips to a downward facing dog. You might shorten the dog, lengthen the dog, pedal the dog out, find a different breathing. Imagine that you never find what this downward dog is and you continue movement to open things up, to feel good. Lift up onto the toes, bend the knees a lot so the belly is touching your thighs. Look past your hands and make your way forward. A hop, a skip, a walk, a jump, doesn't matter, for your forward fold. Find a little breath, a little sway, a little lift, a little drop. And you'll find, rather than bouncing, that the body will relax over time without danger of snapping a hammy. Allow this to be what it needs to be. It feels good to me to sway back and forth, to feel the texture of my mat. We'll either bring the fingertips to the ground or the hands to the shins or thighs, but not the knees, and lift halfway up. We're going to stay here for a moment. Reach the sitting bones back, shoulders toward the sitting bones, belly in, heart forward, neck long and strong. Dig your heels into the earth. This time, when you breathe out, fold. If you normally breathe in when rising up, we're going to have you breathe out this time to test how that feels. It's kinder to the low back. Breathe out to rise up. Mountain pose. Sweep the arms up overhead. Samastihi, hands to your heart. Hands down, sweep them up. We're going to find our, I like to call it the lift wish. Maybe it's a lift whoosh. We have done this before, So the idea is you're sort of getting rid of everything with your breath and by crunching the body together in a sort of chair pose. And it's pretty quick. You got to be careful, no passing out. So it's whoosh and up, whoosh and up. Do 3 more. This time we're going to stay here. We're going to draw into chair with our fingers interlaced behind us. A different way to find chair. Draw the belly in, tuck your tailbone, open up your collarbone. Beautiful. Rise up to the tippy toes. Find steadiness in the ankles. Come down to your heels. Rise up to the tippy toes. Sink deeper, draw the belly in, stay there, bring your heels down. Maintain your bind with your hands and fold over your legs. Exhale, hands release to the ground. Take a halfway lift and a forward fold. We step back to high plank and pause. If you can take a chaturanga push-up, go ahead. Otherwise, drop your knees and or come all the way down to the mat. Nose, chin, chest. And take a little baby back bend. Shifting around with your breath. Maybe loosening your bottom to see if you can find something deeper with the shoulder drawing together. All the way down to the mat and then back into downward dog. I'm going to walk the hands back to the feet for a forward fold there. Rise all the way up. Exhale. Inhale, arms sweep high. Exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to lift the left knee. Take your time. Find Drishti. Step the foot forward. And we're going to take our standing figure 4 here. If you fall out of it, don't worry about it. Right ankle above the left knee. I'm not very steady on my left foot, so I have broken it. Whoop. When you rise up, lift the right knee. Step forward, lift the left knee. Drishti, standing figure 4. Balance not my forte today, but guess what? It's just yoga. Into chair pose, hands down, left foot to the back of the mat. Runner's lunge. Take our twist, left hand down, right arm high. Don't forget about all 3 corners of your foot. So what happens if you attempt to breathe in and twist as opposed to breathing out and twist? Test that out. I don't feel that extra power. Right hand down, back knee down, half split. Right foot forward, right toes peel up, heart forward. Right foot on the ground, but we're going to start to turn to the long edge of the mat, bringing the feet to the ground, the hips high, halfway lift, and a forward fold. Halfway lift, we're going to turn to the back of the mat and find runner's lunge. And our twist. Again, maybe playing around with finding the posture rather than thinking I'm going to land perfectly in my low lunge twist. Right knee down, half split. And what happens if you don't force yourself to get the nose toward the shin? What happens instead if your focus is on lengthening the spine, maybe even finding a flow? We're going to start to turn toward the long end of the mat. Bring the left foot down. Come back into your forward fold and walk around to the right. So your hands are inside your right foot, but you're going to scoot the right foot over to the left to find your pigeon. Might not be your favorite way to get into it. It might be very different, and that is okay. Maybe find it a little back bend before you fold. Maybe play around with this too, because this is a place where lists start to happen. So rather than focusing on your intention, or maybe even rather than focusing on your breath, you play around with the body to see if you can get more distance front to back, which would naturally bring that right hip close to the ground. What happens if you send the elbows out and you soften your shoulders? Hands will walk back underneath the shoulders. You'll shift over onto the right hip. Swing the left leg around and then lean into the left hip to find your pigeon on the other side. Lean onto the left hip, swing that right leg around. Let's go ahead and take Janu Shirshasana. Left foot inside the right leg, accept the knee, and we come with the chest reaching toward the foot. Rise up on the exhale, extend the other leg, Janu Shirshasana here. Now I was just thinking about falling out of those standing balances. But sometimes you got it and sometimes you don't. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You may have an old injury that crops up, or maybe arthritis is making its way through the body. Rise up. We're going to come all the way down to our backs. And again, just like nothing is permanent, every day I practiced last night. I had no problem with standing balances, and tonight is different. So how do I face that? How do I accept that? Is it really a big deal? No, as long as I continue to progress my standing balance, because you need it to walk, to leap over puddles, to get in and out of the car, to come down the stairs. We're going to go ahead and take one back bend, so the soles of the feet on the ground. Scoot your shoulder blades toward your hips, tilt your pelvis up, and shift your knees forward. You might scoot or snuggle the shoulder blades underneath you, and imagine that you're just pressing the tailbone toward the sky. You're using every corner of your feet, and you have a block between your knees. Let me breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and unzip all the way down to the mat. We'll take one last twist. This is going to be windshield wipers. Arms spread out in a T, knees drop together, feet are as wide as your mat, and you very gently move your knees left to right. I remember the sound of the windshield wipers in my dad's car when we were in the back seat on the way home after a family outing, and it was dark out, and it was woo, 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 woo. You don't have to move that fast. And then one final posture as the knees point to the sky. Gather them into your chest. Place your palms on the mat underneath your low back and extend your legs to the sky. You're welcome to cross ankles as long as you do the other side. Bend knees, whatever feels good for you here. And together, we'll find our way into Shavasana. If you like to put your legs physically against a wall, feel free. Maybe sitting up feels better for you. Take a big breath in and out the mouth. You've had the opportunity to sort of move the focus of your practice around while you are practicing to see the impact of how you yoke together or red thread or connect the breath and the movement, the mind, body, and spirit, and how much that is similar to the macro perspective of connecting to other beings. Everyone seeks happiness, we just look for it a different way. Take a big breath in, coming back into your space. Maybe a full body pencil stretch, arms overhead, toes reach forward. You could hook your thumbs and like turkey feathers, reach your fingertips up and wide, breathe in. Release everything. Very slowly and gently, either coming to your side first or rocking and rolling. You'll come back to a seated position. Oh, my balance is really off today. Not too funny. And we'll close down our practice with a sound of Om. The palms draw together at the heart. Breathe all the air out of your lungs. Inhale fully. Thumb knuckles draw right to the center forehead. We remember, we recall, we put into play the fact that all the components of our being are connected. The breath and the body, the motion, the heart or spirit, the mind, and the movement. May that all be yours and easy to allow to happen. Invite it in. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. It was great to play around with things today, to fall out of standing balances, to check in with what else gets impacted if we change one thing. I hope to see you again. Next week is the 29th, so we will not have March 29th class, but I will be back the following week. But plenty of videos to check out. Thank you. Have a good day.